Our goal was to do in-depth research on 100 extraordinary individuals engaged in humanitarian work and to explore the role of religion and spirituality as a motivating and sustaining element in their lives.
Whenever I want to introduce some project, I know that God is here and this idea cannot just come on its own. It's God doing this, and I know this will be successful.
We plan to be audacious, global in scope with individuals from multiple religious traditions, as well as those whose spirituality is not aligned with a religion.
I think there's something sacred about like the exchange of water in the desert. It's so basic.
We experimented with working with journalists as data collectors and storytellers. And because of our interest in fostering a public conversation, we also experimented with different forms of media, print journalism, short documentary films, and podcasts.
There's something about Judaism which in its core is not materialistic. And when you're not materialistic because your God doesn't have a name or a body or a face, then you can't worship land and you can't worship flags and you can't worship symbols. You can try and do good to other people.
We also developed guiding research questions. While each exemplar's narrative is unique, key areas provided links between stories and a common language for researchers and journalists. What inspires you to help others?
I have been an orphan myself. I have been deprived. I started with nothing in life. I cannot say, oh, I don't have any means. It's my duty to advocate and trust the Lord that the support will come.
Trabajé la tierra y vi la importancia que tiene para nosotros, los seres humanos, ¿no? De la tierra comemos, sin el agua la tierra no produce, sin el aire nosotros no vivimos, sin la luz la existencia no fuera existencia, porque sé que es importante, ¿no? Y porque yo lo siento en mi persona, en mi corazón, en mi mente, siento un llamado.
What are the hardest moments of your work?
I've gotten death threats and the FBI had to get involved and I've been sued by people. But I genuinely believe that if nothing's changing and if I'm not an agitator, if somebody's not pissed off, then I'm not actually doing my job. Because then that means that everything is comfortable for people and staying the same.
What gives you resilience in the face of tragedy?
Sentivo le voci, sentivo le grida, sentivo le richieste di aiuto. Poco fa parlavi con loro, poco dopo erano inghiottiti dal mare. Se non hai le spalle larghe e un appoggio forte, per me il mio appoggio è la mia fede e la preghiera, il rischio è enorme.
Some people, get stuck in that despair and the despair wins. And there was huge despair. But I had practices. I knew I was not going to be in that situation. It was not permanent. Whatever mental state I was in, emotional state I was in, it was not permanent. Nothing is permanent.
What spiritual practices inspire and sustain your work?
One of my conversations with God is, I'm going to not stop fasting until you tell me what it is that you want from me. What am I supposed to do with my life? And it ended up that I fasted about 80 days. And close towards the 80th day, I felt very comfortable with my relationship with God, comfortable with my understanding of Islam, and comfortable with who I am as a queer person. Then I said, well, I'm coming out.
How has your work transformed you?
It's a great shock for me. And I was praying, God, why all this pain? These poor children, they sleep at night crying from hunger. Nobody is there to care for them. The answer was so clear. It's your turn to do something for them. They are my chance to be a better person. When we went to help them, we thought we want to give them a better life. Today and forever, I will witness they changed us to be better people.
How do you provide vision and leadership within your religious tradition?
Power corrupts. Ministers can become corrupted. The prosperity gospel is a good example how preachers were preaching, God wants you to be rich. God wants you to have it. And there he or she is with the biggest house, the biggest salary, the biggest car. And instead of going to the people to help the people, you are exalting yourself. So passing the mantle is making certain that we live up to the mission, which is to help the helpless, to lift the fallen.
Shally recalls the Bhagavad Gita, the story her dad emphasized when he tried to explain detachment.
That's sometimes what I think gets lost in a reading of the Gita that doesn't actually put it in the context of a war. Krishna is making all of these arguments, not so Arjun retreats to his home and pulls himself out of the world, but Krishna offers him this advice to get Arjun to pick up his bow again and to go back into battle.
We learn that beliefs and sacred narratives reframe situations, enabling us to see a larger frame of reference. The sacredness of all beings, the rights and dignity of all persons, and hope and possibility regardless of circumstance.
My place is among those people who are suffering. I fall down, I stand up. I fall down, I stand up. This is our life.